want everyone to know in the public that we'd had some video difficulty at 5 o'clock, and we have had no deliberations and no discussions other than asking staff to get the video up during the time that you haven't been able to join us. So we'll now call the specially called emergency meeting of the Commissioners Court to order. All of the court members are present via Microsoft Teams meeting. All of our legal notices have been posted and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We have 2 items on the agenda. Is there a motion on court order 1, which is the reconsideration and rescission of court order 45 from the January 19th meeting?
So move.
Well, actually, it needs to be moved by someone who voted for it under the rules.
Right. So I'm offering a replacement, I'm offering an amendment. Mr. Martin, can you share the amendment that I shared with you, or can I have control so I may share?
Aaron, are you able to give control to Commissioner Koch or to me?
Oh, I can share.
Well, before we get to before we get to the motion, I'll offer a substitute motion to his amendment that we rescind court order number 45. Is there a second on my substitute motion?
Wait a minute. Why is there a substitute motion?
Commissioner Koch is proposing a motion that still has zip codes.
Oh, I see. And that's got to be dealt with first.
Yeah. If you want to pass a motion, we have one on there for you that has the state's approved language. If you need.
Listen, I'm not going to go down that path. I've had conversations with the state as well, and your dealings with the state up to this point have been quite disingenuous. You made clear to the state that we were shutting people out entirely that weren't in those zip codes. That's not the case. I carefully reviewed the minutes from our last meeting, and I made clear that there would still be room and should still be room for those outside of those zip codes, that we were to make our good faith and best efforts to get those folks in those zip codes. The challenge that I presented to you was simple. It was presented in that way to make you put up or shut up, because essentially, listen. I am going to present this substitution to correct the issues that you created with the state. If you don't want to do that, then you're going to have to get another one of the members that was on the winning side of this to do that. So I would suggest, out of proper decorum at least, to take a look at it and see what we can do to work this out.
So before us, though, is the substitute motion. Of course, if it dies for a second, then we can look at your amendment. I would remind you, Commissioner Koch, that all the words you said yesterday are on videotape. So I think the record will speak for itself.
Yeah, it does speak for itself. I mean, it's clear, but that's fine.
It is. So is there a second for the substitute motion to rescind court order 45? And I will also tell the court that I've received a text from the Commissioner of Public Health for the state of Texas, Dr. Hellerstedt, that our allotment will continue pending the outcome of this meeting. And we have received, word from them that they would like that order rescinded. So is there a second on the motion to rescind court order number 45?
Point of clarification. The commissioner is saying that if order 45 is rescinded, then the vaccine allotment will continue.
The commissioner is saying they're pending a decision on whether or not we will get vaccine next week, pending this meeting. And if Dr. Wong is on the call, Dr. Wong, you can tell them your discussions with the chair of the state's committee. I suppose, unless you were told not to. I'm kind of reluctant to go into detail with Dr. Hellerstedt. But Dr. Wong, can you shed some light on that?
I have been told that we need to have this resolved by 8 a.m. tomorrow, or they have us down for 9,000 doses for next week. And if they don't hear about us having this resolved, then we will either definitely be cut back, or I guess cancel our dose
Well,
or
I can give you
allotment.
clarity on that.
Stop. What does resolve mean?
Yeah.
We thought we had already resolved it. What does, this is John Wiley Price. What does resolve mean?
Forwarded the communication that I received from Imelda Garcia. So that's, the specific language that was provided to me regarding this.
Yeah, and I reviewed that email, and what I'm presenting is in line with that email. To rescind this essentially is giving the judge the opportunity to take control of everything
Oh.
in once again. I would rather that we, as a body of 5, address these issues. So I'm happy with additional amendments that we need to within the language of 45, but we're gonna keep that in place and get it right with the state.
Okay, let me explain. The state does not want this court or me to dictate something different than what the state has laid out. So if you want to have an order, I've got an order that is satisfactory to the state that has their language in it. To the extent you want to change up the state's language, they object to that, particularly when it has the effect, as it did yesterday, of excluding people from getting a vaccine for some amount of time while others are getting their vaccine based on zip codes. And so
Let me get
the
a
safest thing
point.
to do to keep our vaccine going is to do what the state has asked us to do, which is rescind the order. And if you want to pass an order today, pass an order that is verbatim the state's language.
Point of order.
So it's communities of
Point of
disadvantaged
order.
communities.
Point of order. If again, and with all deference, Commissioner Daniel, you're still on the prevailing side, according to Commissioner Koch, and that's the reason I asked Dr. Wong. Commissioner Koch says that his provision to advance basically satisfies the concern that was in the I guess the email generated to Dr. Wong. And if that does that, if it does, as we now ask, what does being able to have the matter extinguished by tomorrow morning mean?
Have we got that in writing? Because I haven't seen it.
Yes,
How do I
everyone has
know?
it in their email.
I mean, how do I know that Commissioner Koch's language is going to be accepted by the state? And that would be my first question. The state sent a letter saying, ladies and gentlemen, you need to rescind this order if you want to receive more vaccine. That's
Well,
what I don't
do this. How about we take a look at the language that I presented?
with all due respect, I haven't seen any acceptance from the state, saying that the language has been accepted. I don't want to risk.
Commissioner Koch, with all due respect, I'm not willing to risk the vaccine for tens of thousands of people over the next few weeks because you guess that your order is good enough to satisfy the state. I would propose we do what
I
the
am
state
certain
has
of it.
asked
I'm
us to
certain
do.
of it. I'm certain of it. If we can present, and we can call on someone if they care to join us right now.
Well, you feel free to call on anyone you want to, Commissioner Koch, but unless you have something in writing from the state that you reiterating these zip codes will not put at risk the people of Dallas County to get their vaccines. I
Here-
hope you will stand
here's
down.
here's the language. This is the core of it, right? I've cut and pasted the state's provision. Essentially, the priorities within 1B for Dallas County are first, individual.
Look, what you're talking about is a preference for a population size of less than 600,000 people to get 25% of the vaccine, when the state says that our area is 4.3 million people. Whether or not that will be okay with them, Dallas County, we just need to do what they've asked us to do, rescind the order. We can bring it back another day. If you have some ideas, we'll run those up the flagpole with the state. Let's not make another guess as to what the state might, what we need to do. Let's do what they're asking because
Characterizing
we
that.
need to
Okay,
get
may
the
I say
vaccine.
something? Disadvantage.
Certainly.
So bullet number 6 talked in those terms. So does that cover the concerns that we had about prioritizing the distribution of vaccine in the Dallas area?
I think it does. And Dr. Daniel, apologize for interrupting you. The point I wanted to make is that your most disadvantaged district, most disadvantaged zip code in your district, the Vickery Meadows zip code is not included in the list. And so,
75243.
oh, is it? I beg
Yeah.
your pardon. Then.
Yeah,
So
it is. It
included.
is there,
Yeah,
Judge.
it's
Okay.
there.
Okay. Well, there are 5 zip codes that are more vulnerable on the PCCI list than the least vulnerable zip code on the 11 chosen yesterday.
They were matched up.
Yeah. So again, I think we're best served tonight to do what we've been asked to do and continue to work together to improve outreach to disadvantaged communities.
Judge, I think what we're saying is that based on what Dr. Wong had gotten from the state, based on looking at these zip codes, you still haven't shown us anything that shows that, that we are out of kilter with what the state is saying that they want to do.
Commissioner, the letter that they wrote and the information that they gave us orally. You don't have to believe us with what we're telling you, but you can just look at the letter. If you continue on the path that the majority is on, they will cut our vaccine. It will hurt people. Please help us help your constituents by rescinding the court order that would have stopped people from outside those 11 zip codes from getting vaccine for a period of time.
But it's really not going to stop people. You see, you keep putting forth that argument that creates a narrative that it's going to stop.
Okay.
Stop. We're giving preferential treatment based on what the state says they want to say, what they want to see, and the PCCI. We're tracking it. We're
Okay.
tracking it. This is not our information. This is coming out of PCCI.
By the way, a reporter is texting on that to me that Vickery Meadows is 75231. So the one that you have is Lake Highlands. So at least according to that person.
Actually, it's on the other side of 75 right there.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
So what the state is objecting to, Commissioner, and it's just math, right? What Commissioner Kudge said yesterday is you will give vaccine appointments to the people who live in these 11 zip codes. And then, Dr. Wong, if and only if there's any excess appointment capacity, will other people get those appointments? So when we apply the math to that, there's nearly 27,000 1Bs in those 11 zip codes signed up already. We get 9,000 vaccines a week right now. And we have appointments booked through February 1. So if you're doing 27,000, 9,000 a week, that's 3 weeks. Now it's February 21st. But February 21st is 31 days from yesterday. During that time period, more people from the 11 zip code signed up. And so you're leading to a sort of a perverse situation where a relatively healthy 28-year-old with an asthma inhaler can get a shot in the next 3 or 4 weeks, but his 80-year-old grandmother with diabetes who lives in a different zip code can't get a shot until every person who signs up there has had a shot. That's what is.
Please answer this
Judge,
one
I
question.
appreciate
What percentage,
your providing
what
those
percentage
models.
of vaccine is Dallas County distributing here, Dallas County? What's our percentage of what we're distributing? What's the total amount that's being distributed, and what percentage does Dallas County's efforts at Fair Park account for?
Yeah, that's going to vary from week to week. It's roughly a third of the vaccine this week, and it'll be less as we go forward and other hubs come on. But I know where you may be going with that, saying, well, then other people can take care of them. Well, here's the challenge. The hospitals are focused on their patient population, right? They're not focused on the people on this list mostly. They're doing a little bit off this list in their patient populations. And then Garland, we don't know exactly what the Garland Center is going to be working on. We'll have to find out. So the only people that are focused on the most medically vulnerable people, the poor people who live throughout, the basically North Texas, on our side of North Texas, is this group, and we're a state hub, and they want us to follow what they have put in writing for us to do, not something different than that. They're okay with us prioritizing people of higher risk. They're okay with us prioritizing neighborhoods with high spread or a lack of a medical home, but putting into a document that we're going to do somebody first and then secondarily other people, when we're supposed to be a hub, not just for Dallas County, but for any Texan who signs up, is not okay with the state and is a reason why they could pull our vaccine. So please help your constituents by not voting to do that a second time after they put in writing then we
Judge,
should not do
first
it.
of all, I really resent that you're saying that I want to do harm to
No.
anybody. And so I resent that you are putting those words in my
No.
mouth.
I'm not saying
My number one priority is to get vaccine to the people, to residents of Texas. If we can prioritize it because we do not have a lot of vaccine, so that those who are more vulnerable can would be given a priority, then that seems to make some sense
I
in an
agree.
area that has 4.3 million people.
I agree.
Okay, so the intent was by putting the zip codes that would achieve that kind of just prioritization. And that does not mean putting that it would exclude anybody. So
Well,
then, looking at bullet point 6 says that we can look at disadvantaged communities. If we take out the specific zip codes, keeping in disadvantaged communities,
that'd be
and
great.
then each local area can uh, make that happen the way that they are able to with the data they have.
Yes.
Because my whole point is let's get the vaccine out.
All right. Well, I agree with Commissioner Daniel. We can certainly do that, and I can sell that to the state.
Okay, next point though, stop, please do not be putting words in my mouth saying that I want to hurt people.
No.
And that's
Commissioner,
what part of the
Commissioner
letter,
Daniel,
so that is not appreciated.
I did not
I
say you
understand.
wanted
I
to hurt
understand
people.
completely there, because
Please
listen,
understand, I did not say you want to hurt people. I know no one here wants to hurt people. I think the majority's goal was noble, to help 11 underserved zip codes. The effect, though, if we continue on that path and lose our vaccine, is it will hurt people. Not that we're intentionally, any of us, are trying to hurt people.
And can I say something? I mean,
Sure.
we all want to, focus on the African American and Latino community, on the zip codes that have been hit the hardest. But I think what we're reading from the state is not to the exclusion of other vulnerable populations that are out there. Now, colleagues, you know me, I'm willing to work with all of you to be sure that any amendment that is presented, goes very clear. Rescind this ordinance, and for tomorrow, before we cut out your vaccine, I just cannot and do not want to run that risk. Like I say, I'm ready to rescind it, and tomorrow morning, go back to the writing, go ahead and make it in something that we all can pass unanimously without excluding anyone. And Commissioner Koch, I know that you have, you want to do what is right. I think we all do. It's just at this point, the state has been very clear, at least in what I read today from Imelda Garcia, you need to rescind this before 8 o'clock tomorrow, or you will not have any more vaccine. And that's the risk that I don't want to take.
The way we got into this trap is because you went outside of what so-called the state was doing to begin with.
No.
And hold on. And so therefore we went out and observed what was going on. That's the way we got here. We had individuals going rogue and saying we're gonna do 75 when the state clearly has said 1B, 65 and above, which Parkland and everybody else is doing. But all of a sudden, we're going to go to 75, which I said disproportionately impacts communities of color when we follow our own guidelines under the community health needs assessment. And as I said yesterday, in terms of life expectancy. So what we've done is followed, Dr. Garcia, you're always talking about, follow the science. PCCI is just that. That's the map. That's what we've done. We followed PCCI. And so therefore we are getting to the most vulnerable, disadvantaged communities. And that's what we're doing. That's what these zip codes represent.
And Commissioner, I get you, but there's other vulnerable communities, which is what the state is telling us. You know, like West Dallas, Bagman Lake, Love Field, I mean, South Irving, Grand Prairie, and I can go on, Farmers Branch. I mean, there's other areas which are vulnerable as well. And we have to be sure. And I know, Commissioner Koch, that you probably are trying to look into these details, and I agree. But at this point, my point today, colleagues, I'm ready to go to the writing board tomorrow with all of you until we get something that is more equitable and satisfactory, but we have to comply to the state with what they're asking us right now. And I don't want to run that risk, Commissioner Price. That's all I'm saying.
I'd be willing to consider coming back to this on Friday, but here's been the main thrust of the entirety. It's about accountability. I've taken, of course, a lot of abuse in the last 24 hours because folks are saying, oh, you're going to red line out all of North Dallas. But after what happened, from what the judge did, regarding calling folks and getting folks in from my district.
No, that is a
For me to be accountable.
Falsehood. We did not call people from your district. That's city council people who released those links.
Well, Judge,
I was not calling people from your district. Maybe you were, but I wasn't.
I unfortunately have not been able to help any of my buddies out. I'm not that kind of person, but here's the problem: we lack accountability. Judge, you lack accountability. You have not yet been held accountable for what happened last week.
No, we are in communication. First of all, I think you give me a lot more credit than I deserve because there are in any given day 250 people working their tail off at their park and hundreds more working behind the scenes. And the idea that I'm here pulling some sort of strings, playing God and deciding every person who gets a shot is so far removed from even any glimpse of reality. It's laughable. But Commissioner, we want to work with you and everyone to get a better representation of a better demographic representation
Let's just look at that
for
though.
the shots.
Let's just.
By the way, every day we're in communication with the states, 75 plus, everything else that the doctors have recommended. We run it by the state before we do it.
Let's just start where we can agree, okay? We can agree that last week was a failure. There was a big failure there,
last week we vaccinated 12,000 people, the majority of whom were over 75 years old.
And Anglo.
I'll just tell you.
And Anglo. And was not from disadvantaged communities.
And today we got a new
No,
president.
you didn't answer the question. And not from disadvantaged communities. I sent y'all an email this morning. Not from disadvantaged communities.
The numbers, Commissioner, will speak for itself. When we get those numbers back from the state, you can look at the zip codes after Wednesday and see where they came from.
Judge, here's the problem.
I saw my lying eyes. I saw the optics.
Here's the problem with the accountability piece is that we are in this low vaccine environment. We're not receiving the large amounts that we are going to receive in a couple of weeks, right? We're going to get more as time goes on. We have to get good at this right now. So all the bugs and problems in the system, all the distrust, mistrust, and problems with accountability need to end right now because we need to be aces 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, as we approach, the fat middle of, if you will, of 1B, and then as we get closer and closer to 1C, if we want to have a chance of being a real help to this crisis. So I want to put in place systems that we all can be held accountable, that we're getting the right demographic mix, and that's what this was largely born out of.
Well,
then
you need to roll up your sleeves and get in here with the people that are talking to the state every day and working, and the career professionals and the incident commanders, and learn what's going on.
Anyway.
And that's directed at you, Commissioner Koch, not the rest of y'all. If you want to set up systems, then we're going to have to set up systems that are okay with the state, right? And what Dr. Garcia and what Dr. Daniel just said is, Let's talk about disadvantaged communities. I think that's
Yeah.
okay. You want to come back with an order later that we work with the state? That's great. But we're not going to be able to do it making it up on the fly. That's what happened yesterday. They've asked us to rescind that. Let's get that done, and then we can all work together. I'm all for accountability. Let's have accountability, but let's do it in a way that doesn't jeopardize the shots for the people in Dallas County.
All right, so I'm willing to put forward that motion to rescind. If we can all agree that we're going to have a meeting by the end of this week regarding how we are going to make this process accountable, how it's going to be transparent and accountable. I want to hear from Dr. Wong and all of your medical community, all of the special team or whatever, and I want those two things, how we make it transparent and accountable. We're going to need to get, Melissa Kraft there because we're going to have, web support and, the rest of the pieces regarding, getting those dashboards up to make sure people can see clearly that we're doing the right thing every day.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
All right, so if we
so
agree that, then I move to rescind 45.
Second,
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion, Commissioner Price.
I don't like having my arm twisted.
Okay, well,
That's what happened.
yes, no, or abstain.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so that motion passes 4-1. Again, we're all trying to get to the same place.
No, we're not. No, we're not. But
All right, no action is necessary.
Some of us, it looks like we're trying to get to the governor's mansion.
okay, but then we will
you know,
be,
do I believe
All right.
you are my lion eyes? And
No,
so,
All right.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough damage for today, but
Commissioner Koch, then we'll get together and see what the language we can arrive at.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's
thank you all. And no further action necessary as per
move,
we have no
So, Judge-
session.
move to
You want to consider item number 2, or you're just going to hold that?
I think we can hold that. So
Okay.
we are done for tonight. Thank you all. Court stands adjourned.
Thank you.